Welcome to the Travel Like a Boss podcast, where we interview location-independent entrepreneurs that travel the world like a boss by being their own boss. Here's your host, Johnny FD.
Hey guys, it's Johnny, and welcome to episode 191 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I am here on my last day in Chiang Mai, and I'm with Thomas Barlow. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so Thomas and I actually just met on a hike.
Yeah, it was a good hike.
Yeah.
It was tough for me. I would admit, it was a tough hike for me, but I appreciate it.
But it was fun, and so we went from the Pilgrim's Trail, which is an easy to get to hike from Chiang Mai in the city. It's about 10 minutes away by bike or car, and then it's a beautiful hike, about 2 hours or so up to
2 hours to the top to the temple.
Yeah, up to Doi Tep, and it's a great way to get out there. And during the hike, Thomas was telling me about his life, and I was like, that's pretty interesting. So I'm on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate the hike and everything today. Had a great time.
Yeah, and it's something that I think people should, when they come to Chiang Mai, it's not something that is that common to do as a tourist, or even people living here for a while. But then once you do it, you're like, why wouldn't I take advantage of this?
Why wouldn't you do it every day? Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. So what is your backstory? Where are you from?
Originally from Galveston County, Texas, on the Texas Gulf Coast. Born and raised there. Grew up there. Started traveling the world a little bit when I was young in the U.S. military. After that, did the normal thing, went to college, started the career and everything, and got married and eventually got divorced, and then decided I was going to start traveling again. So here I am in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, that's great. But what's really cool is even though you have, 6 months a year off to travel, you're pretty much traveling for free during that time, right?
Yeah, my company pays for everything. I work 1 month at work and then 1 month off. They pay for everything getting here. So I'm able to stack the money as best I can, invest it, and do everything to set myself up for future retirement in about 3 years.
So that's actually the biggest thing I think a lot of people need to take away from this. One is, how do you actually retire early? Because you're going to retire at what age?
49.
49. And the normal retirement age is 65. Mm-hmm. And 55 or anything below that is considered early retirement.
Yeah.
So you're shaving, a good chunk of time off of that.
Yep.
But you're not just kind of working, 40 hours a week, basically 330 days of the year, or actually 330, probably more. People get 2 weeks off?
Yeah, most people get 2 weeks off and get off the weekends. I don't get particular vacation, but I get off for a month every other month, so it's pretty good.
And when you first told me about this, it almost kind of sounded too good to be true.
Yeah.
It's a job that doesn't require, I guess there's some of them are very technical, but there's kind of a job for almost anyone.
Yeah,
right?
There's a job for almost everyone. What I do in oil and gas business, I work offshore, and you have different categories of people. You have electricians, you have instrument people, you have people that strictly operate valves, you have people that cook, you have people that maintain flight schedules, people that order materials, all those different things. There's a little bit for everyone in that business.
Okay. So, pretty much anyone can find something to do, apply for something.
If you're a smart person, you can find your way into it. The hardest problem is getting into the job. Once you're into the job, you can stay in it for life if you want to.
Okay. And why is it that these companies pay you to go 1 month, 1 month on, 1 month off?
Well, it's considered, I'm not sure what term they use nowadays, but it's, when I was in the military, it was the same thing when I was in Kuwait or Iraq or something like that. You're sitting there away from your home, you're away from your families, it's hazardous. So, oil and gas is no different than anywhere else. You take your risks. You have a certain amount of risk, and that's why you get paid more to do those jobs.
Okay. And so I could definitely see that. But why do they give you a whole month off? Like, why don't they just have you work, let's say...
It all depends on the company. Okay. It all depends on the job. My present employer, we have a fatigue policy. They will not let you work more than 4 weeks, and they want you to enjoy your time off. But when you're at work for 28 days, 12 to 16 hours a day, every single day. You don't get a break. You don't get weekends off. You don't get to go out to go see a movie with your friends. You don't get to go drink beer, And
I guess most people would rather have that than, let's say, getting the weekends off, or, working a little bit less and just, but still kind of being bored on an oil rig. Yeah,
there's people in the U.S. that work 1 week on an oil rig, 1 week off. But there's no one that flies out or drives out to a rig once a day and then comes home at the end of the night. It's just, it's isolated duty. And you have to understand that isolation. But the benefit is that it pays you more, of course. And there's also another benefit. I'm off for a month. How many people can travel the world for a month, every other month?
Yeah.
And not have to worry about the rest of it.
So most people listening to this podcast, we think about, okay, what kind of job can we do online, while living somewhere, while traveling somewhere? But this is an alternative. I think this is actually like a pretty cool thought of, okay, let's say, you want to have a job. You don't necessarily want to work, for yourself or start your own business. You want to have the stability of a salary. You want to have the benefits, the health benefits. And you guys get a lot of benefits, right?
Yes, we do. We get very exceptional benefits, and we're covered all over the world. In my case, I'm covered all over the world. But that's the thing. If you have people that want to travel a lot, and typically a lot of people either find a way online, do the digital nomad thing, or they save all their money and then they just quit work and they don't have anything to go back to. And that's hard for people to do. There's not a lot of people that are going to be able to just do that, jump off, but a lot of people do. So in a case of a position like that, every other month, my company flies me wherever I want to go.
That's cool, right?
Yeah, it's great.
So could we do some examples? So let's say you wanted normal family life in the U.S., all right? Would they fly you back to the U.S. or?
I get, the way it works for me, I get a certain budget to fly on. As long as that budget to fly on is underneath what their budget line item is, which is where I'm from. So as long as it's cheaper than flying back to the U.S., I can fly there.
And is that just because you've been there for a while and you're in a high position? Or let's say someone's just starting out.
No, it's just the rotational position. It's just working that position that I work in the country that I work in. Mm-hmm. All the expats that I work with, all the company treats them all the same way. There's certain ones that get paid a certain amount, and there's certain ones that have business class flights paid for. There's certain ones that have economy class flights paid for. So it just depends on the position and where you're at.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say someone's starting out, they don't have like high level skills. What is like a typical starting salary, and what is some of the kind of typical benefits?
It just depends on where you're at, what country you work in. Some countries paid more. The U.S. obviously pays more than a lot of places. But if you go to Spain, you go to Kazakhstan, you go to Azerbaijan, the pay is pretty good. So, but there's guys that start off anywhere from 60 to 80,000. There's guys that make 180,000. Depends on how long they've been there and how bad they're needed in their resource, whatever they do.
And is it pretty easy to save money while you're there? Because
you don't spend any money unless you stay. You need to just make sure you're not on Amazon ordering stuff. Other than that, I don't spend any money.
Yeah, because I can imagine. So when you're there, I'm assuming accommodation is paid for.
Accommodation, food, everything's paid for.
So do you spend any money during that month when you're at the job?
It depends on how many M&Ms my boss gives me. But we have a little store. It's a closet, basically, and you can buy a Coke, you can buy M&Ms, you can buy Hershey's bars, whatever. But that's about it. Maybe $10 a month.
Wow. That's insane, right? Yeah. Okay, so everything's taken care of. And then on your month off, so you work, I'm sure you're working hard. You're working your butt off for 1 month straight, 28 days straight, no breaks really, no vacation, no weekends off, which you wouldn't really want anyways because there's nothing to do.
Yeah, there's nothing to do there anyway.
So a typical day would be you wake up, work,
wake up, eat breakfast, work, eat lunch. You might have slow times during the day. You take those slow times. You talk to your friends that work there as well. You meet a lot of different people, and then, after work, you may go sit in your room and watch a movie, or you may go sit in the lounge and watch movies. Some people, we have pool tables, we have ping pong tables. There's a gym. I'm not quick enough to get the gym before everyone else, so I never get to use it. Or, you may continue to work. Or in my case, I have businesses in the U.S. I go online and I can check on those and do taxes and pay bills and do whatever.
So that's awesome that you have this job and you still have businesses back in the U.S. Can you talk about those?
Well, I've got a couple of vending operations. They're basically ice and water in Texas, and I've got someone that does the majority of stuff for me, but they're all logic controlled, so they're all controlled by a cell phone. So I can check on the status on my cell phone and see how sales are doing, or if we need to increase supplies or take money out to the bank, and I can just send him a message saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, so I can still be bossy.
That's crazy. So what do you actually mean by the ice and water?
So basically, it's a giant vending machine the size of a small 18-wheeler that you go up and you put $1 in and it gives you a 10-pound bag of ice. Or you put $1.50 in and gives you a 20-pound bag of ice. And it also sells reverse osmosis water on the side of it. It's called Twice the Ice. There's 2,900 machines in the southern U.S.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
and is it kind of like a franchise model? Or how do you get into it?
It's similar. You just basically buy the machine. It's not really a franchise, but you buy the machine, you find a location, you put it there, and you count your money.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a lot of money for ice and water.
Yeah. Okay. So how much does it cost to get started with
Those
something
machines are about $100,000.
Okay.
So-
And then how do you find a place to put it?
You drive around, basically. You spend a lot of time driving around. You look and see what you can find. And the area that we have the first machines in, I drove around that area and I found an area across the street from where I'm currently at that I liked. But one of the guys that works with me said, no, this would be a better spot just because of access and egress for people coming and going off the highway. And that first spot ended up being perfect. I mean, it's constantly busy, a lot of sales, do sell 50, 60,000 bags of ice a year. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when it adds up $1.50, $25 here, and you throw in, $10,000, $12,000 worth of water, it always does good.
That's amazing. And I think this is something that no one really thinks about, because normally if you think about opening a business in the US, we're thinking about something that we have to be at 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, like a restaurant or something.
Well, the beauty of it's not really having the people to deal with. I mean, you have customers to talk to, and customers typically aren't concerned about it if they lose their dollar. They want their ice. They want their water. They want to make sure it works. So if there's something wrong with it, they'll call you and say, hey, it's not working. Or in the case of the ones I have, they're very new, so they're digitally connected. So if something happens, the machine breaks, it sends me a text message.
That's cool. And obviously, you're not the one flying back from wherever you are in the world.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have one guy that works for me, and he probably works for me 3-4 hours a week, takes care of it, and gets his little percentage, and I don't have to worry about anything. But once you get it established, you can do that.
That's cool. So this, I guess, can work really anywhere in the U.S., and I'm sure people can do this in other countries as well.
I've gotten 3 people into the business since I got into it, and one of the guys lives in Alaska, and he has 4 ice machines in Arizona.
I thought they said in Alaska. That'd be funny.
No. There actually is one in Alaska in a tourist spot. It's only open during the winters. But yeah, he has 4 machines in southern Arizona, and his father-in-law goes there, and his father-in-law checks him once a week, and he goes there on his time off and collects his money.
That's crazy. Okay, so they're about $100,000 to set up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you find that perfect location, how do you actually get the agreement? Like, do you just figure out who owns that land, or how does
you figure out who owns that land, and you go into them and you sell it to them. You tell them, in the case of mine, I tell them, well, you have a very slow business, because the one is in front of a pizza store, but it's a very slow business. And I went in there and told him, I was like, your sales are going to go up because I'm going to bring more people in your parking lot. And he said, oh, yeah, maybe. And he thought about it and called me back and said, yeah. And in the first year, his sales went up 30%.
Wow.
Just for more traffic being in his parking lot.
I guess that really is a win-win situation, especially if he has a parking lot that's never full.
Mm-hmm.
There's, very little reason for him not to have it there.
And he had a big parking lot, and there's maybe 3 cars parked there at any one time, because it's a takeout place. So there's just people come pick something up, and there's no real place to sit down. So he had the space, and he makes extra money off the space and increased his business.
Okay. And then do you have to pay him rent to leave it there? Or
I pay like $400 a month US.
Okay. And how did you come up with that number?
I actually just thought about it. I did the research and saw what other people with the same business are paying in various places. There's people that pay $100. There's people that pay $1,000, and I just came up with a broad number that sounded good, and he accepted it, and we signed a contract. And I think I hit 5 years in March at that location. And I think my rent goes up an extra $100 in March.
Okay.
Yeah. So not bad.
Definitely a win-win for both people. I almost feel like somebody can almost frame it with a business saying, hey, I have an idea to get you more customers.
Yeah, well, if I could get someone to walk around the state of Texas and sell customers, I'd have 40 of these machines.
So do you think that's the biggest bottleneck right now? Because I was going to ask.
Yeah, the biggest bottleneck is strictly having people say yes to leasing your land. So I have 3 different locations that are perfect locations in and around the South Houston area. And they're absolutely, I've studied them. I paid people $100 to sit there all day and count the cars.
Wow. Okay.
To see what kind of people come and go, to see how many boats come and go. And I've made what I consider ridiculous offers to where I'm offering someone $1,000 a month to rent a parking lot, and they still say no.
Why would they say no?
I have no idea. I haven't figured that part out yet.
That's insane.
Yeah. But there's 3 different spots just like that. One, it took me 3 months to track the owner down, and it's been a parking lot, and there's nothing else around it. It's been a parking lot for 17 years, 5 years ago. And he's done nothing but pay taxes on it for 17 years.
So I guess,
he still said no.
From their point of view, is it, if they want to get rid of you, is it like a month to month? Do they just give you 30 days notice, or how does it work?
In my case, I'm signing 15-year lease.
Okay, so
long term. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're hesitant to do it.
Well, it never even got to the point of how long a lease would be with them. They didn't even want to hear about it. They wanted nothing they didn't want to know anything about the business plan or how it worked or anything. They just said no.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess maybe if they think they might be selling the space soon, that could be a reason. But
in the case of one, the property was worth about $60,000, and I offered him $100,000 cash, and he turned that down too.
That's so weird. Okay. So how long does it take? Like, how many years does it take to pay back that initial $100,000 investment?
It took us 18 months.
That's
the first one. That's it.
That's fast.
Yeah. But we took every penny we made and sunk it right back into the business to repay for it. We put it in a separate account because we had planned on using that separate account to buy the second machine, so we paid our back pretty quick. But we have a really good location. On average, mine's about 20-30% higher than the Texas average and the national average.
Okay. Yeah, I guess all of you guys probably talk to each other or...
Yeah, there's a Facebook page.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, this is one of those passive income businesses that I never would have thought about, but it makes absolute sense.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you have someone that's available. If you use the distributor in Texas has 44 of his own machines, and I'm not going to say how much money he makes off those because that's something he needs me not to talk about. But he makes a lot of money. He only has 3 employees. He doesn't work them. He goes out and he's played golf every day, or he goes fishing, or he goes to the beach with his wife and kids.
And is this something that people can finance to start? Or?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
You can. And the reason there's financing, I did not finance mine as I had the extra capital to put into it. But the guys that own the distributorships for Twice the Ice, they can find you people to finance it because they know how much money there is to be made at it. It's a good business. I quite enjoy it. You sit there and you pretty much, you come up with the machine and it's all cash business, a little bit of digital receipts. You have a credit card machine, but no one uses it. They use quarters, nickels, and dollars.
That's crazy. So before this, the only time I heard about someone having a similar type of business, I had a friend from Texas, ironically, that had a coin-operated car wash.
I have a friend that has 2 coin-operated car washes, and he makes a lot of money.
So what's stopping you from opening one of those as well?
If you open one of those, it's a lot more capital. In the case of my friend, he bought 2 of them, and he bought them at auctions where people lost them for whatever reason. So they were already built. To build something that much, that new, the sheer amount of concrete is a couple $100,000 worth of concrete nowadays. But he makes a lot of money. His name's Kyle, and it's Big Wally's Car Wash in Kemah, Texas.
Shout out to Wally.
So, he makes good money. But like I said, it's a little harder to get your foot in the door with a car wash, and you got permanent land and you pay taxes on the permanent land, and they go up on your taxes. You wouldn't think car washes would make as much money as they do, but they do really well.
Yeah, my buddy that had one, he was crushing it, and I was like, why? And he ended up selling it when he moved to LA, and I was like, why are you selling it? It seems like such a great passive income business.
Yeah, have someone else run it for you.
So who knows? I haven't spoken to this guy in a while, so who knows if he regrets it, but it seemed like something he should have kept.
Well, and I thought really long and hard about selling my ice machine business and when I moved here, but it's easier for me to hire someone and pay them 7-8% and still it's there. The longevity of the machine's 15, 20 years. So 10 years from now, I may move back to Texas and then start running it again. It's still going to be making money.
I guess even paying somebody, it still produces profit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And in my case, we were $1.50 for a 25-pound bag of ice, and I went up to $1.75 March 1st, and that's just to pay for my employee. And he's a contract employee, so that pays for his salary and probably makes us a little more. And we may lose a little business, people saying, oh, I don't want to pay for it. But if they don't pay for it at my machine, they can go across the street to the convenience store and pay $3.50 a bag. So it's their choice.
Oh, yeah. So actually, it is a benefit to the customer as well because it's cheaper.
It's cheap. That's why it's called Twice the Ice. You get twice the ice for the price of the money. That's how the name started.
And so what I like about this is unlike the car wash, which I thought was a great idea. I just thought that's going to be expensive. There's going to be kind of more pieces to it. The other kind of type of business that I've seen like this is a coin-operated laundromat, which
requires a lot of maintenance.
And that's what I remember from that.
Now, in dealing with the Twice the Ice machines, they're very, very well designed engineering-wise, and the parts have been tested. You can actually go to the factory, and they have a machine that's sitting there and drops a bag, simulates dropping a bag, and it's up to in the millions. But it's very well designed. Of course, like anything else, it's going to need proper maintenance, preventative maintenance, and you need to do things a couple times a year. You need to grease levers, you need to clean it, you need to do the normal things that machinery needs.
Is that something that you, like from here, let's say it needs maintenance or from,
it sends me a text message.
That's amazing.
It is. It's pretty nice.
And can you hire someone remotely and have them go there and fix it?
Well, in the case of this, the guy that works for me, he does all the maintenance work. And before him, I did all the maintenance work, or my ex-wife did all the maintenance work. So it's still, it's not that hard. It's not difficult. If you take care of it on the front side and do the maintenance and don't let it slack off, you'll be fine.
Okay. So I guess if someone will start this, it's probably a good idea for them to learn kind of the basics, set it up, do it themselves first.
That's part of the learning process. You're not just going to be sold this machine. You're going to be sold this machine from a distributor who's going to show you how to run it. And I have a guy that's on call 24 hours a day. His name's Russell. And anytime I call Russell wakes up and answers the phone and says, "What's wrong?" And he's got 150 people that do this that call him, and that's his whole job, is to be there on the phone to give technical support. And he knows all the tricks of the trade. He knows all the little problems or the little things that drive people crazy. But it's a good resource. And the company's not going to sell you this and say, "Oh, you're on your own." They're going to teach it. There's manuals. I didn't read them, but I went out there and played with it, and I learned how.
Okay.
I'm sure my wife at the time read them.
So that's a great business. I'm glad to hear about that because it's something that no one's ever brought up on this podcast. It's been 191 episodes now.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So these are two things that we haven't talked about. One is the possibility of working, and it doesn't have to be on an oil rig. People do this with like mining jobs as well.
There's all kinds of jobs that do that. There's even service jobs. There's a few jobs I know of out there where people fly from the U.S. to different countries to work in a hotel for a month, and then they have a month off and go fly back. There's various sectors of private industry that have it. It's just finding your right niche of it.
Or Alaskan fishermen.
Oh, yeah. There's Alaskan fishermen. There's for any of you young people that want to go on an adventure, you can go to Alaska and you can clean fish all summer long for a lot of money. But it's just during the summer. And it's a lot of hard work. I know people have done it.
I can imagine. How much? Do you know what they pay?
They actually make pretty good money. The guys that I've talked to make about $65,000, $70,000 for the summer, which is about 3 months. And they get, there's some time off they get when they go into port and they go party it up and live it up and everything like that. But for the most part, they're working or they're keeping track of scientific data on fish collection for the government or whatever. But I know a lot of guys that have done it before.
So that's cool. And, that's something that a lot of you guys can be thinking about that, where not that you want to do this for the rest of your life, but if you're thinking, I'm stuck at a job I hate, I don't have money to travel, I don't have the time to do it, why not, sacrifice 3 months of your year, bust your butt, do something hard like cleaning fish in Alaska,
and then travel the rest of the year.
And then, you have $65,000. You can do a lot of that. You can see the whole world. You can save a lot of that. And
if you're good at travel hacking, you can figure out how to get to places cheaper. You can figure out how to not spend money. Just like we had a little bit of a travel hack today where we were using Uber, where I had a code for Uber, so it cost us 15 baht to get back. Some people don't know the codes exist. You just have to look for them.
Yeah, so at $65,000, technically someone could work 3 months every other year
and make it here.
Yeah, and be able to travel really, to any places like Thailand or, anywhere that's not super expensive in the world. And even smarter, what you could do is you can say, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go work for these 3 months. I'm going to take that $65,000, use that to bootstrap and live in a cheap place like Chiang Mai. And then I'll have 2 years to start a business. And by the end of it, if it doesn't work out somehow, you can always go back, clean fish again, and you have another 2 years to start another business.
Well, if you think about different jobs like that, it just people don't know where to find them. You just have to look for them. The fish cleaning jobs. I'm sure a lot of people, especially U.S.-based people that watch your podcast and stuff, they've seen Deadliest Catch. It's the same thing. It's the same boats they deliver the crab to, or the same, Adak Island where they take the crab to be processed. It's no different. There's crab processing centers. There's fish processing centers. The people just go there, work during the season.
And is this something, I can't imagine someone like going to school to learn how to process fish or
what
crab.
They want in those jobs, they hire young people straight out of high school or taking a year off from college that want to go do something different and just want to work a little bit here. And a lot of it's, younger kids, less than, 27, 28 years old. And there's some people I know that have been doing it for years. They do it every summer.
So no experience needed.
Nope.
They'll train you.
I know one guy that lives in Alaska who's a school teacher, and during the summer, that's what he does to go make money.
But extra $65,000. It's a lot.
Yeah, he's trying to do the financially independent retire early. So he goes there and he works and makes his extra money every summer.
This is such a smart move that people, I don't understand why people aren't taking advantage of this.
I think people just don't know it's out there. People know there's jobs out there, but they don't know how to find them, how to get involved. You know, that's the hardest. Once you know what's out there. I mean, just in the last few years working abroad, I've seen so many opportunities that I could take in the future that I want to. You just have to realize those opportunities and take them.
When I graduated high school, my choices were go to college or be a bum. It was really it.
That's your only choices.
That was kind of what they're taught, what they teach you. Like, if you don't go to college, you're going to be a bum.
Yeah, but, half the very wealthy people that are from the U.S. are there because they started their own business, because it's something they wanted to do, not because they thought they were going to make a lot of money. They wanted to be their own boss. They wanted to be not have to worry about working for the man.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I went to college, and even after that, I got a corporate job, was because I felt like I didn't have something to fall back on. I thought, if I don't make it in the corporate world, I'll never, or if I don't get a degree, I'll never be able to make enough money to survive. And now that I even know about these things, I'm like, you know what? If I can make 65 grand cleaning fish for a summer, like, I'm not going to worry about being homeless or being broke.
But the number one thing people want is they want stability in their lives. And if you travel around and work, you don't necessarily have that stability. But do you have that stability in the U.S.? I know lots of college kids that have graduated that had a job, and now they don't have jobs. Or now they're working at Starbucks, or they're doing, whatever job they're doing. There's lots of people that go and they spend really a hard amount of time and a hard amount of money in college, and they don't use it. I'm a perfect example. I have 3 degrees, bachelor's and a master's degree, that I don't use at all.
So, did you need a degree to get onto a rig?
No, not what I do. I did not, but I already had them, so it didn't hurt. But my degrees are in general biology, so it has nothing to do with working on an oil rig.
So, let's say someone is, I guess out of college or something, but they don't have any like specific technical skills. Can they somehow acquire some of these skills to be able to get one of those $100,000 jobs on the rig?
Well, there's classes. Depending on where you live, if you live anywhere where oil and gas is big, southern Texas, Louisiana, certain parts of Chicago, the north, where they have classes, and they call it process technology, and it just tells you how it works. But one of the things companies want nowadays is they want people that don't have the skills, because they want to train them themselves in the way they want them to perform. So people from one company, say people from ExxonMobil, don't necessarily want to hire people from British Petroleum, because of the fact they want them to be trained a certain way. So they'd rather hire people out there that have the skills saying they can be trained, i.e. college degree, but they don't necessarily have the particular skills to do that job. They train them the way they want, and then they get the employee they want.
That definitely makes sense. So if you guys are listening to this and you're like, okay, this sounds interesting, a scenario could be you get one of these jobs, you get trained up, you work 1 month, 1 month off, work 1 month, have 1 month off. During that month you're working, you're not spending any money, so you're saving up 100% of your salary, minus the $10 you spend
on M&Ms.
And then on your month off, you get a free plane ticket to really anywhere
you want to go.
Anywhere you want to go. And could it be different every month, or do you have to choose a place?
It can be. For me, I'm using Chiang Mai as a hub, but I could pretty much fly anywhere I wanted to if I chose to.
Okay. So then you can fly anywhere in the world you want for a month. And as long as you guys stay somewhere cheap, actually, is accommodation included, or is it not during that month that you have off?
Is what?
Do you get your...
Well, it's different. My case is a lot different than everything else, but typically the accommodation isn't. My case is a little bit different, but a lot of people, a lot of the guys that work with me, they work all over the world. There's 5-7 of us maybe in Thailand. There's some in Spain. There's some in Australia. There's some in the UK back at home. There's some that go to the US, it just depends.
Okay. So I guess if you are starting out and you're not getting your accommodation paid for during your month off, you could just come to a cheap place like Thailand, or you can go to Bali, or you can go to South America or something. And as long as you spend around $1,000 during that month, which is very doable in places like Chiang Mai, you're basically spending, let's say 12, 15, maybe 20 grand a year in expenses.
And living really well.
Actually, less than that, because you're only traveling for 6 months of the year.
You don't travel for the other two. So the only things that you have bills-wise for the other two times is if you have a cell phone back in the U.S. Like me, I pay AT&T $54 a month. I wish I didn't, but I do it because I need to keep that phone number, right? And there's other ways to get around that, but other than that, I don't have any bills in the U.S. And my budget's $2,000 a month. I mean, I make more than that, but that's all I'm willing to spend.
Okay.
But if I don't spend that for 30 days while I'm at work, I can spend $4,000 the next month.
Yeah. So you can have a great vacation. You can enjoy it, or you can save it. And that's really smart. So technically, you have 6 months off of the year. If you're spending $1,000 per month while you're off, you get the free plane ticket.
Yeah.
And you're making $100,000 before taxes. That's $94,000.
Mm-hmm.
And
here's another key point you got to remember too. If you're making that and you're not living in the U.S., you're not paying U.S. taxes.
Because you got the foreign earned income.
Exactly. So moving here saves me an extra $35,000 a year. I don't have to pay the U.S. government.
There you go. And if you guys are from a place like California, you can first move to Texas,
where you can get to a state that doesn't have income tax.
Mm-hmm. Then work on one of these rigs. Only go home for a month of the year, 35 days or less.
Yep.
And you can qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion, which I'm using as well. And then now you're making $100,000 basically cash. I mean,
yeah, you wouldn't have to pay a penny on the taxes until you hit it like 114,000, something like that.
And you're living for free 6 months of the year and eating for free, all your meals included. You have all your health benefits, and then you get to travel to 5 or 6 countries a year if you wanted to, or go back to the same place if if there's somewhere you really like Chiang Mai. You can work on your other businesses, whether it's having some kind of passive income business back at home, or you can start an online business.
Yeah, if you have an online business and you're a digital nomad, and you look at how many people I've met just since I'm in Chiang Mai that have online businesses, whether it's blogs or they sell merchandise or something, and they drop ship it. There's all kinds of way to make money. People just have to realize it's there and go out and grab it.
Yeah, and even when you're on the rig, even though you're working long days, there's not really anything to do at night, and you have internet, right? So you could work at night if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I do. I typically get on my laptop and do some work at night. And it just depends on what I need to do. Some days I don't do any. Some days I might work for 3 hours.
And I think that the idea that it's even possible, I think that's great. Like this is such a smart way to bootstrap your way to a lot of savings.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why you can't save $50,000 a year,
or more,
or way more. Like it's insane. I mean, I think if you really budgeted hard, you could probably save 80%.
You don't need to even budget that hard. So if you come to Thailand and you're making $100,000 a year, and you're paying 6% taxes, and you're paying $6,000, you got $94,000 to work with. You'd have to do an awful lot to spend $94,000 in Chiang Mai. I mean, there's so much. I mean, when you go out and you have, a nice hike like we had today, that's free. You have some food, you have some transportation costs. If you go out and you drink beer all night long with your buddies, yeah, it gets a little expensive. But you're still not going to spend more than $2,000 a month.
Well, what have you spent so far today? So it's 5:30 p.m. on a Sunday. Oh, you took an Uber?
I Ubered for 8 baht.
Okay, but normally that'd be 50 baht, which is about $2.
Normally about 50 baht, $2. I had breakfast, which was 50 baht.
Another $2.
2 $12 or 12 baht bottles of water.
Okay.
And then we had lunch when we got off the mountain, which was 50 baht.
Yeah.
So I think I've spent.
Oh, and we had the fruit shake on.
We had the fruit shake up on top. That was 40 baht. So I think I've spent $8, $10 maybe.
Yeah, and it's a great day.
Yeah, it's a great day. I'll go out tonight and I'll spend $2 or $3 more. I might even have a beer after our hike today. And so what am I going to spend? $15 today?
Yeah.
And if you do that every day, you're not spending much money. Some days I go out and I spend $30. But it's still not a lot of money if you think back to how enjoyable your day was today and say you only spent $15. Well, $15 isn't going to get you much at home in the U.S. right now. Mm-hmm. Might get you McDonald's if you're lucky for 2.
It might get you just that Uber ride.
Yeah. Uber's quite expensive in the U.S., but here there's so much to do. There's so much free things to do. I mean, I enjoy just walking around every day. Yeah. But one of the greatest things about it is I don't have to get up in the morning if I don't want to. I can sleep in all day.
So one of the other things I really admired about you is the fact that not only are you retiring early, but then you're not just going to be bored and have your kind of quality of your life just go away. Because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of the business owners I meet, their whole lives is the business, and once they retire, it's either they keep working or they kind of just don't know what to do.
That's not retirement. That's still working. Me personally, I'm sure when I actually retire from the oil and gas business, I'll work. I'll have businesses, but I'll be able to do them how I want to do them, when I want to do them. Or, I could have people work for me and I could do nothing but bathe in the sun and hike up mountains and drink beer.
Yeah. And you have a bunch of hobbies now even, right?
Yeah, I love to fish, so that's one of my big hobbies. It's probably the biggest, and I've fished all over the world, and I'm going to continue that. In fact, I'm going to go fishing this week in Chiang Mai and next week in Phuket. So, that's one of the things that I like to do, and I'd rather spend my money. I will spend more in 3 days fishing in central Thailand than I'll spend the whole month in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, okay, I see that. What's crazy is I think people that don't fish assume fishing is a very cheap sport.
No, it's
or hobby,
not.
Or it's not, right?
No, it's not.
Why
it's not
why
at all.
is that?
Well, between all the things that you have, all the tackle and the places you go, I'm going to spend 26,000 baht, which is 800 and some odd dollars, for 3 days of fishing in central Thailand. But I'm going with the best guy in Thailand. His name's John. He's from Bangkok. He's the best guy there is in Thailand. And I'm going to go fishing with him. I fished with him before. I'm going to do it again next week, But it's because I want to go with him. If I want to go with someone I didn't know or someone that might, I could get it a couple $100 cheaper. But I'm still going to spend more money in that 3 days of fishing with him than I'll spend an entire month in Chiang Mai.
Well, you know what? That's the good, a good reason to make enough money before you retire, so you can actually do things like that. That
financially
you
independent, retire early. I don't know if that many of your listeners have heard about that, but if you sock away as much money as you can and you let compound interest work for you, you're always going to win in the end.
Yeah, so we talk about that a lot in the other podcast, Invest Like a Boss. If you guys haven't heard it, definitely hop over and subscribe to that one as well. But basically, if you guys ever done the math on compound interest, it is insane.
It is, especially if you start it when you're young. And I started mine when I was young, not as young as I could have. But if someone out there is just starting off, even if you put a couple $1,000s a year in it, when you're in, 18 to 25, and you see what that is when you turn 40, it's amazing. And there's calculators all over the internet that you can use to show you what you're going to make.
Yeah. So imagine that if you can put, $200 or $300 into an account, into index funds or something else low cost. And that's a big key that we talk about on Invest Like a Boss is if you're paying even 1%,
it's way too much.
It doesn't sound like much, but it will destroy your future potential, your gains. But by having something super low cost like a Vanguard fund or something else we talk about on the show, every 7 to 10 years, you're doubling your money.
And in years in this, like the last couple of years, you'd triple it.
Yeah. And it's it really is insane. And probably the easiest way to think about it is imagine instead of you investing the money, you had this money on a credit card and you're the one paying debt on it. Imagine how fast those payments start compounding and how much you start owing. It's basically the same thing, but in reverse.
And typically people know that reverse side of it. They know that they have to pay this credit card, and it says you only have to pay $40 a month, but then it compounds, and by the time you know it, there's too much money and you can't catch up.
Yeah. And imagine the opposite of that, where one day you have so much money you can't spend it.
And I'm going to be at that point one day.
Yeah. In 3 years.
Yep. In 3 years. 3 long years, but it's going to be good. And years go by really fast when you get to be, my age, 45, 46 years old. Especially walking around Chiang Mai and then going to work for a month. There's lots of things to do. But in reality, if you get to the point and you save your money enough, you can retire early and travel around the world and never spend any of the principal money. Just spend the interest. And that's what I plan on doing, just spending the interest.
Yeah, and I think that's a big goal for a lot of people listening to this. I think we heard about it in, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or in a lot of other kind of finance books, but it really is the ultimate source of passive income. When your money is making you money. And that's, for you guys, wondering why I spend so much time on the new podcast, Invest Like a Boss, it's because it's exciting.
It is. You can save a lot of money. You can make a lot of money. I originally started off 1 month. I was sitting there. I was married, had a great life with my wife. She had a good job. I had a good job. And I was driving from Galveston, Texas into Houston. And I was listening and I heard a Dave Ramsey podcast on the radio. And it said, why don't you just go out and keep all your receipts for 1 month and see how much you spend. Well, I did that for a month and I saw that we spent $1,800 eating out for 2 people in 1 month. And we started from January 1st. That was in November. We started January 1st and it's been great ever since.
Yeah. And now it's even easier where if you just put everything on one credit card, you can easily see at the end of the year what you spend money on.
And that's what I do. I use a Chase card and I put every dime on it. Except for now that I'm here because it doesn't work that way. But in the States, I put every dime on it and I get airline miles on United for it.
Yeah. So if you guys are in a position right now, you're like, okay, I'm stuck at a job. I'm not happy. I want to travel. I want to be able to retire young. we've just given you a couple solutions. And I know it's not going to be for everybody. I'm sure some of you are listening to this thinking, there's no way I'm going to move to Alaska and clean fish. There's no way I'm going to move and work on an oil rig.
It's only 3 months. Just remember that.
I know. I think in this generation, we are so spoiled where our parents, like my parents would have been like, if I told my dad, hey, go clean, you want an opportunity to clean fish for 3 months to make 65 grand, he would have jumped all over that. He was making a third of that working 6 days a week at a gas station. And it's one of those things where we have these opportunities nowadays that really didn't exist before. And the fact that a lot of us just, bitch and complain about our life not being, as easy as we want it to be, or not, having the success, or not being able to travel. If we're not willing to grind our teeth in the beginning,
you're never going to enjoy it to begin with.
Yeah. And that's actually even what an entrepreneur is. the definition of it is definitely someone who's willing to take the risk now for a future potential payoff. And it's not guaranteed, but a quote I read was, entrepreneurs are willing to live a life that other people are not willing to live now, so they can live a life that others can't live in the future.
Right. It's no different than Dave Ramsey's beans and rice and beans, right? You're going to live on your beans and rice now. Later, you're going to live like no one else. So later you can live like no one else. That's what he says. And that's one of the things that I first started reading. And I've graduated from Dave and moved on, but it's still that way. If you work hard now, you reap the benefits later.
Yeah. So even if you just did this once, and I'm not pushing the cleaning fish, because there's other opportunities like it. It doesn't have to be cleaning fish. You can literally go, pick stems for weed in Northern California for summer, or there's other jobs. Just look around. I never heard of the cleaning fish thing. I'm sure there's other jobs like that.
Yeah, and that's just an example. There's so much out there. You just have to use your resources and figure out what they are. The number one thing I tell people when they ask me, well, how do you succeed in life? You use what God gave you. Use your resources. And with the internet, there's so many resources out there. You can find anything you want. You just have to check into it and look further.
Yeah. So whatever it is that you find, be willing to sacrifice 3 months, not even 3 years, 3 months of your life, and then either take that money. If you invest it, I guarantee if you took the 50 grand or 65 grand that you made in those 3 months and you invested it today and let it compound, you will be so happy that you had that when you in 10, 20 years, especially if you let's say you're in your early 20s right now, or even late 20s. Imagine if you had 65 grand that you put into an account, into a low cost fund or something, and forgot about it. That would make you so much rich. Money.
Yep. I had a kid that worked for me in Alaska when I was there working the oil and gas there. He came in and hired in with us at 21 years old. They paid him $82,000 a year to start with. 2 weeks after his first job, he went out and brought a $75,000 Harley Davidson edition King Ranch, F250 4x4, and asked him, I was like, what are you going to do with that? You can only drive it 6 months out of the year because you're at work the rest of the time. He thought about it. And eventually he decided to sell it and invest all his money. Stayed living at home with his parents. Made all that money, invested money. Now he's 30 years old and he's traveling the world on his time off. And he's not worried about the money. There's so much you can do with it.
So I just went on a compound interest calculator.
Here we go. Google this is going to show you the real numbers.
Okay. So if imagine this, you took 3 months of your life right now. Let's say you're, okay, what age would this have to be? Let's say
27.
Let's say you're 27, okay? You're 27, all right? 27 plus 29. So let's say you wanted to retire when you're 56, which is a pretty good age, okay?
Which is a good age. Yeah, it's still considered early retirement.
And you wanted to retire a millionaire, okay? All you had to do is work 3 months doing something that you don't want to do, take all that money, put it into something like a low-cost index fund or something.
Vanguard.
All right, Vanguard, which in kind of, if you look back, it has grown for about 10% on average per year. Sometimes it grows 30%, sometimes it goes down by 20%, but on average, in the next 29 years, most likely it'll go up about 10% a year, right? And the fees are so low, it doesn't take away very much from it. But basically, in 29 years, just from that 3 months of work, you'd have $1 million.
And that's with market sitting the way it is. That's not necessarily with the ups and downs you add all together, and you could have 10 times that much. All depends on how you invest it.
Yeah, and it's like, if somebody told me after college, and this is at 27, right? Like if you're, if I did this right out of college, I took 3 months off right after college, before I started working, at 25, it would be even more. It'd be 31 years to go. I'd have 1.2 million. And if somebody had told me that right after college, they said, hey, Johnny, you can either start working a corporate job right now, or you can take 3 months off, do this thing that nobody wants to do, break your back for 3 months.
Invest it all.
Invest all of it, and then just forget you own it. Just don't touch it. I can guarantee you'll have $1 million in the bank by the time you retire at 55.
So what your listeners have to understand is you're not talking about putting $65,000 away each year. You're talking about putting away once, and it sits there for 30 years or 25 years, and you have $1 million. Well, can you imagine what you could do with that if you did that every year for 10 years?
Yeah.
And put $650,000 and waited. You'd be worth $5-7 million at mid 50s, and then you could just laugh and enjoy your life.
Yeah, I mean, you can teach. You can, as the example you gave, you can follow your passion, and you can say, you know what I really want to do is I want to teach drama, I want to teach art, I want to teach whatever it is.
Or in my case, go fishing everywhere in the world, wherever I want to go. Take every fish off my bucket list.
There you go. All right, and there's so many things you can do. And there's so much opportunity out there. And I wish, the reason why I do this podcast, and I get so excited when I talk to people like you, is we get it now.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me, I wish I got it at a younger age, but I definitely get it now.
And I wish somebody had forced me to learn these things or given me the opportunity to learn these things when I was in high school, when I was in college. And I didn't know this was a possibility. And that's why I'm so excited to be able to share this with you guys, because it really changes your life.
It does. It can dramatically change your life. The number one thing that changes your life when you have money to invest and you have time to enjoy is the simple fact that you're not one hospital visitor. You're not one flat tire. You're not one brake problem on your car away from being bankrupt.
Yeah. Or you could say, you know what? I'm not too worried about, retiring a millionaire. I'm okay with that. I want to enjoy life now. This is another option. Say, okay, work your butt off for, 3 months a year, or do the 1 month on, 1 month off, and then start enjoying life now. You don't need to work at a job back home that you hate, that you're unhappy at, in a cubicle or at a, whatever job you have. You can start doing it now, and you don't even have to be an entrepreneur. You can have that as an option if that's what you want to do. Or you can do this hybrid model where you're working for a company, getting all the benefits, you're getting a stable paycheck, stable salary. You can still travel, and then if you want, as an option, during your time off, you can build your business.
Yeah, or you can, there's some people that do what I do, and they work other jobs or work their businesses. But there's nothing saying you have to, and there's nothing saying you have to travel on your time off. You can just take your time off and enjoy it wherever you're from.
Yeah, that's absolutely true as well. But here's a crazy thing, and this is why I really want to bring this up, is I'm assuming most people on that rig are not saving their money.
None of them are saving any of it, except me and my boss.
Does that not drive you nuts?
It does, but you can only tell them so many times. I have guys that walk by and they'll see me on my Vanguard, looking at my Vanguard account, and they're like, "Why are you here if you have that kind of money?" I was like, "I still got a few years left. I'm not broken down yet. I'm only in my mid 40s. But I'll have twice as much in a few years." It's simple, and I probably look at my Vanguard account way too much and see how much money's in there, which I shouldn't do. But you go out there, and if you compound your interest and everything, it goes up really, really fast.
Yeah, and this is, these are things I wish I knew. And I wish that everyone on your rig and everyone working, rigs around the world would find this podcast. And actually, if any of you guys know someone who works on a rig or works one of these jobs, send them this podcast. Say, please fucking listen to this, and please
comment.
Please do something, because I've met people who have worked in mines in Australia or in other places in the world, or on rigs, and what they would do is they would work their butt off that 1 month. Then they would be like, "Oh man, I'm now I got to party.
Yeah, I'm gonna go party it up. I'm gonna travel all over the world. I'm gonna spend all my money."
So instead of coming to a place like Chiang Mai and getting an apartment, what they do is they stay in a in a 5-star hotel for 29 days. They go to the bar and buy shots for everybody.
Yeah, ring the bell at the bars on Lloyd Crow.
Yeah, they they start making it rain at clubs or at strip clubs, popping bottles, and they have nothing at the end of the month.
They got to go back to work to make more money.
And it becomes this vicious cycle, because, it's probably not, someone's dream job where they just want to work there for the love of it. They're working, these hard jobs because it pays so much money. And I understand, that at the end of the month, you're tired, you want to enjoy yourself, you're like, oh, this is my little treat. This is my reward for working hard all month.
Yeah, but how much money do you need to spend to actually enjoy yourself?
Yeah. And
we spent $15 today.
Yeah.
And we had a great day. And it's not over yet.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you kind of just think about the future, you can enjoy yourself so much more if you just let some of that money compound, and just live cheaply for just even a few years.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it. I mean, just like here, I didn't move to Chiang Mai just to live cheaply. It's just a benefit of being here. I lived here so I could relax, enjoy my time, not have to get up every single morning on my time off and go to work, which I was doing back at home with the business. Now that I have people running my businesses, I come here. If I want to stay out tonight till 2 o'clock in the morning, I can.
Yeah, and that's smart because it sounds like what you did was you took the money that you were making from these jobs and you bought businesses with
Yeah,
it.
Exactly. So I bought the business and invested in that. And there's a couple other side businesses that I have as well. But, you take that and then you start reaping the rewards from that. And eventually I could live off that now if I wanted to. But, there's other things I want to do. I have expensive fishing habit to take care of. And, there's boats I want to buy when I do get done, or there's places I want to go that are very expensive. And there's no other way to get there other than being expensive.
So you've also hacked your hobby as well, right?
Yeah, I have done that a little bit.
So with fishing, it's such an expensive sport. Things like gear, things like boat rental, chartering. But you figured out a way where you can basically do all those things and not have to pay for it out of pocket.
Yeah, I mean, you pay for some, but I have a charter business, and it's closed up right now because I'm not in Texas. I'm in Thailand, but I take people fishing, and I get paid good money for it, and it helps that I have sponsors that help me with boats and motors and gear and everything else, and they take care of the people that take care of them. And one thing I've always said about sponsorship, I'll never take money or product from someone if I don't actually use it and like their product. There's a lot of people out there that will, but in my case, I don't do that because that's not what I'm about.
Yeah, and that's probably why you're going to be successful in the long run as well. There's so many people with platforms, whether it's with fishing, but even like this podcast or my blog, people send me free stuff all the time, or they offer to. They say, hey, Johnny, can you promote this product and I'll give you X amount of money?
Yeah, but you don't always take it if you don't believe in the product.
I probably 98% of the time I just delete the email. I don't even respond to them. But then if it's something that I either use anyways or I've been
something
wanting to
that you're interested and curious about,
I'm like, sure. Like I would have just talked about it probably for free because I like it. But the fact that the fact that they either want to send me free stuff or that they want to pay me to do it or they want to give me an affiliate deal, it just reminds me, it gives me more incentive to talk about it more often.
Yeah, and there's opportunities out there. I mean, there's endless amount of opportunities, and I wouldn't have thought about the opportunity that you get from doing podcasts and everything, but it's no different. I mean, I have fishing equipment that shows up in my house. I don't even live there anymore. The people that live there now say, oh, yeah, you got a box. I just throw it in the attic. I'll get it when I get back.
That's
I have
crazy.
no idea what it is.
So how did you get into a position where people sponsor you?
I spent a lot of years. I took the money that I was making and I started a charter business, and I became well known as a charter business captain. And, just because I liked fishing, and I originally started it just to pay for my habit, to pay for my boats, to pay for the travel, to pay for the gas. And it just evolved, into something I love. And I always said, if I didn't ever like it anymore, I'd quit. And I got to the point, about 2 years ago, I was like, this isn't any fun anymore because I'm working too hard at it instead of enjoying it. So I laid off it for a while, started fishing some just professional tournaments in southern Louisiana, Florida, Texas, and had fun with it. And now I'm back to the point where I love it just as much. I'm dying right now not being able to go fishing this week, but come next Sunday, I'm there.
Yeah, I love it. So I guess the way it works is instead of you going out and having to pay and charter a boat, you're like, okay.
Yeah, they pay me.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, I think for most people, owning a boat in general, like if you're just doing it for yourself, is a terrible investment.
It is. It's a horrible investment. I have had so many customers over the years that buy $60,000, $70,000 boats that don't know how to drive them. And when they do drive them, they want to go fishing and they don't catch any fish because they don't know how to fish. So they go with me one time for me to teach them how to drive their boat and fish. And then they end up just selling their boat and going, it's cheaper just to go with you 5-10 times a year.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane that people waste their money buying things. I mean, it's like I wanted a Ferrari because that's like my dream
because
car.
you want a Ferrari.
Right? But when you calculate how much it costs to buy, then to...
The Volkswagen's a better investment.
Or to, maintain, to garage, to, all these things, it is ridiculous. And I also realized, you know what? How often would I drive it? Right? And maybe
because you'd be too afraid you're going to hurt it first.
Yeah. And that's why people keep it in their garage. They may take it out on a weekend or something.
Me, on the other hand, for boats, and it's an investment that I can make money off of, but I also spend a lot of time on my boats when I'm back in the U.S., you know? And now, I've got 2 that I've loaned to a friend of mine who's the dealer, and he's going to keep care of them while I'm gone, and he'll use them with his son to go fish tournaments or go fish with his wife and kids, and they'll still be there when I get back.
Yeah. And nowadays, there's ways where you can rent it out to other people. And
yeah, you can always do that. I mean, there's a lot of people that do that in the southern U.S. There's a lot of people that do that in Florida.
Yeah. So I think that's a great idea. And I guess because you were so passionate about it, not only did you figure out a way where you can not only make money from it, but you can also get good enough, get in these tournaments, and then people, I would imagine that those sponsors that send you things, they see your reputation. They're like, okay, this guy endorses something. People really buy it.
Yeah, people do. And with, one thing about sponsorship and one thing about endorsements, the number one way companies make money off endorsing someone or someone else endorsing their product is off online media. There's such, I heard from a company not too long ago that was going to sponsor a tournament series I was fishing. And they said, we don't care if you get airtime on TV. Get us airtime on Facebook. We'll have 100 times more exposure than we do from TV.
Yeah,
and it makes lots of sense. Media has completely changed the way we do business. Yeah. So if you're going to go on there and you're going to post something and you're going to believe in this product and you're going to post it on Facebook and everything else, the exposure rate of all the social media groups, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, whatever you use, is so much more than hitting people with airwaves on the TV. People watch cable and stuff because they're bored or they like a TV show. They don't watch it for the commercials, and most people don't pay attention to the commercials. But you're hammered with them every day, day in and day out, and sometimes they stick. Sometimes when you go buy something, you're like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that on some show I watched. I'll go try that. And that's how companies make their money.
Yeah, I think nowadays too, the reason why influencer deals are so popular or affiliate deals with people online is because it comes as a personal recommendation versus just an ad, right? So if I talk about something on this podcast, it's probably because I actually use it, I care about it, and then it just came up.
Well, it's just like us talking about investing. I tell people about Vanguard because that's what I use. I have another company that I have my 401k with in the United States, but I would never recommend them because I don't like them.
Yeah. And the thing is, if Vanguard had an affiliate program, I would happily sign up for them. But they don't. But
you still promote them from time to time because of what you believe in and what you use.
Exactly. But I guarantee if they had an affiliate program, I would just make it a point to bring them up even more often. And that's why it does work from the company's point of view, is because then now you have kind of an incentive to think about them more often, or spend more time, maybe writing a blog post about why I like, Vanguard, or how to get started with Vanguard, or how to open an account or something like that.
Yep. Takes about 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I love it. I'm really excited that we got to hang out.
Yeah, it was a good day. I appreciate the the help. It was a little harder for me. I'm not nearly as good a shape as he is, so I had problems with going up the mountain today.
I better be because I'm going to Nepal tomorrow.
yeah. But it's good to spend your last day in Chiang Mai going out, and hopefully people learn something from this podcast, and ask you questions and just relay those questions to me. I'll help all I can.
Yeah. I love it. So if people want to come fishing with you, how can they find you?
Oh, I'm on hiatus right now in Chiang Mai, so let's not talk about that.
There you go.
My website's still active, but I don't want people to send me messages because I don't really want to respond right now.
That's so funny. But you know what? That's actually a nice thing, is being able to kind of go offline for a bit.
Yeah. And that's when, when people send me messages, send me emails, hey, what are you doing? I want to go fishing. I was like, I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand right now. Just going walkabout. That's what I want to do. They're like, oh, cool. Well, let me know when you come back, so I can keep the business going. And if I'm here for 18 months or if I'm here for, 10 years, It costs me a little bit of money to maintain my website, but it's still, the familiarity is still out there for people that see it. And there's going to be people that are mad, of course, because they want to go fishing with me, but it doesn't mean I can't help them. I'll send them an email back and say, hey, let me find you another good guide that I trust. Someone to help you out.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, to be honest, it'd probably be a good idea for you just to get get like a referral network and maybe get a small commission for referring people.
And we have that in and around the Galveston, Texas area. But to me, it's always seemed like the people that own the referral businesses, they don't do enough to keep you there, and they just want a little side cut, which is fine if they did work. But in this case, they have your name, your websites on their website as well. They're not really doing much but hosting. I was going to
say you should get a kickback for referring people to
to all
people
my
you trust.
To all my guide friends in Galveston, I've never asked them for any kind of kickback for sending them charters, and I don't want it because if they're not good enough, I won't send my customers to them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I like it. I love your mindset. I love everything that we've talked about today, and I love the fact that people listening to this now have a couple new ideas on different ways.
Every little bit helps people.
And it blows my mind that 191 episodes in, we still get new ideas on how to live location independently, how to make money, and be able to travel, and also how to save for your early retirement.
Yep, and there you go. I mean, early retirement, it's, and if you work a job like I have, you're not really early retirement because you don't work 6 months out of the year to begin with.
Yeah, so you're enjoying life now. It's not the deferred life program.
Yeah, and we're about to watch the sunset go down over the mountain. I'm going to go have a beer and some dinner and call it a day.
Yeah, I love it. So at the end of each podcast, what I'm trying to do now is just give, my guest a few minutes just to rant about tips that they wish they could just put out there. What it really could be anything you want, like life advice, tips, your favorite things, books they should read, gear that you like, whatever it is. I'm gonna give you the mic just for a few minutes. Go ahead.
I really don't have anything that to say about that. Just enjoy life. I worked long and hard before I finally realized that I need to spend more time slowing down and enjoying what's out there. You see a lot of things, you work hard, and one of the things that changed my life was I was walking through a grocery store somewhere in Louisiana, and I was walking through a grocery store, and I saw no one in the entire grocery store with a smile on their face. And it was kind of upsetting because, people should be having a good time and all that, and there just wasn't that. And I started thinking, why are these people not smiling? And I finally realized they were just not happy because they're zombies. They go to work, they come home, they take care of the kids, they go to sleep, and they go to work. The weekends they're so tired from working, they don't do anything. So I didn't want to be like that. And I thought maybe I would get like that. So didn't want to. But other than that, there's not really much else for me to say. I just hope someone gets some useful information and uses it, because if we can spend a couple hours doing this podcast and one person changes their life, it's all worth it.
I love it. So if you're going to be that one person, let us know. Leave a comment either in the show notes, episode 191, or if you haven't already, please leave us a review of the podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to the show. That really helps spread the word. And Thomas, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yep. Thanks for spending the day with me on your last day in Chiang Mai. Have fun on your adventures.
Yeah, great. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please screenshot it, put it on your Instagram feed, put it on Facebook, send it to a friend, tell them to listen to it, and we'll see you all next week. Till then, be good, stay bossy. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.